I'll tell you something right now, man. For me, hey, are you drinking? What are you drinking?
A little Alpha Brain.
That's exactly what you're drinking.
You know how I start the show.
You're down in some Alpha Brain. And by the way, it's pretty delish, isn't it?
Yeah, it's a peach
You-
flavor.
do you
That's
do-
not out yet, though.
Do you do it's not out yet?
Nope.
Oh, it's not?
Instant Alpha Brain.
Oh, dude. You've been drinking it every day.
Every
At least
day.
every time we do the podcast.
I'm like their little guinea pig.
Do you do Alpha Brain every day? Be
Every
honest.
day.
Be honest.
Well, only when I have shows, which, that'd be every day. So.
what is your, let's do a little blind study. What is your feeling about it? Is it like coffee when you drink it? What happens?
No, not really.
Just clarity?
Yeah, I like it's kind of my go-to. You know how
Yeah.
kids have blankies?
Yeah.
Big Brown has Alpha Brain.
That's what Aubrey Marcus says, who is the owner of On It.
He says
That's what
kids
Joe
have
Rogan
blankies.
does that. No, he says
No,
that too.
That's what I said.
He says that too.
Yeah.
He says
I
that's
think
his
I said that.
It's his go-to thing.
Yeah, I have to have it.
Yeah.
It's yeah.
You know,
They have a huge sale coming up Monday though, which I'm excited about. Because On It,
well, Cyber Monday.
Cyber Monday.
It's called Cyber Monday, dude.
Cyber
But
Monday.
can I give you what they're willing to do?
For Cyber Monday?
25% off supplements. How about that? 25% is a quarter off. Oh yeah. So if it's $100, it's $75. If it's $75, it's $50. If it's $50,
No,
it's
we
20.
got it.
You get
We
it.
got
All right.
it.
The point
Yeah.
is this, and that's not that math was wrong.
That math's completely
20%
wrong.
off foods. 18% off fitness. 18%. Hey guys, how come 18? That's
Who
a strange
came up
number.
with that number?
Hey, let's do 18. 20? No, 18.
For fitness, 18.
I love it. I
A
love
little
it.
more than 15.
30% off gear. And hey, listen, dude, I need my gear. Like when I get out, first thing I go is, "Where's my gear?" I say that to my woman.
All the time.
What'd you do with my gear?
Gear's important.
She's like, "What do you mean?" I go, "I need my gear. I'm not gonna go gearless. Need my gear.
Gear up, 30% off.
I gotta gear up. You guys want to gear up, and if you don't gear up, maybe you're not serious about your optimization. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? 30%. Why don't you
Yeah.
just give it away On It?
But what if I want like one of those giant kettlebells?
Well, I'm glad you mentioned. How about I take 40% off those?
What?
Oh yeah. How about I take 40% off the doorbusters, including the Werewolf Legend Bell and
I think so heavy.
other fitness equipment. I'm freaking out. Leave alone.
Cyber Monday. Onit.com this Monday.
40% off?
Yep. Biggest sale of
Don't
all
yup me.
time.
Don't yup me.
Cyber Monday.
Cyber Monday.
Black Friday.
Yeah.
Onit.com.
I feel like punching you in the face. What?
Onit.com.
Come
Onit.com/fighter. 10% off. You guys know the deal. Cyber Monday.
Oh man.
Boom.
There it is, buddy.
What's up, man?
We got our Roots of Fight shirts on.
We do.
What, dude?
Have you been on a bender all night? I mean, this.
Can I be honest with you? My face is looking a little swollen, isn't it? You looked at me and go, "You look terrible."
You look like you're 80 years old.
Well, I
today.
drank too much wine last night, and I ate way too much cheese. And that doesn't work for me.
Was meth in this too?
It
Were
may-
you up all night?
Got drunk, got a little drunk on very expensive, very old wine,
I don't care.
and ate way too much. I ate with you, and then I went and ate again. You know that. So I took in, probably 10,000 calories. I'm not doing so well.
of Italian food.
Oh, God, of amazing Italian food. But you just can't eat that much meat, that much cheese, and that much dessert, and that much wine. And I went overboard last night.
No, I do that, and then I don't look like fucking
I stopped
Tales
eating-
from the Crypt. Now,
I stopped eating at midnight.
Then did you link up with like a gang and stay out all night and ravage the city? or-
I may as well have. I made love to my hand. I made love to my hand. There, I said it
So
out
you had a
loud.
bunch of Italian food.
Yeah, just
then
a
you went
belly.
home and jacked off
Went,
with
I
your
went home alone in my house in Calabasas. Nobody was there, and I took cock to hand, and strummed one out with a belly.
That's a depressing night.
What you think? And then I went to sleep.
And slept in.
I'm a disgusting man. Look at my face.
I can't, man.
If you had told me that's who I would have been at 48,
Jesse, I
would
want to
have started
apologize to you. I want to apologize. We got our boy Jesse in the house.
We have our
all the
clothing
way
mogul.
from Vancouver. Yes.
No apologies needed. I actually appreciate that very much. I did the same thing.
Good man. Good man.
You did the same, man.
When you're
I
young,
just
when
I
you're
just
young,
look like this naturally. Yeah.
when you're young, you don't think that older people jack off. And sometimes I just do on principle. I'm not even horny, and I go, I'm jerking off today. And I do it aggressively. Never done it in front of the mirror, though. Of course I have. I'm kidding. I bet you jerk off in front of the mirror because you're like, look at my body.
Definitely
I'm
don't.
good looking.
I don't know, man.
Let's get
can we
personal.
to
You're like next door.
Yeah, can we get to our boy Jesse?
Nah, hold on. Let's get
Without-
personal. Let's get personal. Some guys, I think anybody who jacks off lying down, some guys do that. Other people do it sitting. Other people do it crouched in a corner.
up?
You ever crouch in a corner?
Why would I go to a
I
corner
don't
to do
fucking
it?
know. I'm in a weird mood today.
Man,
I'm aggressive.
you're out of it a little bit. You're a little off your game. You look like shit. A little out of
I'm
it.
all swollen.
You don't know what to talk about, so you're telling us about you jacking off?
I feel swollen in my forehead. I actually feel swollen, like I'm squinting and I can't see you guys. It's just darkness. I'm looking through a tunnel
You're
right
like,
now.
Yeah.
Oh, Jessie, I apologize. Welcome.
I apologize. Hey, thanks for flying all the way from Vancouver. Thanks, man.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah.
It's great to be
How's
here.
things going with you?
Really good. I'm not as good as Callan because
Yeah.
that sounds
That's
like
tough
one
to
hell
beat.
of a night.
2
That sounds-
Italian
yeah.
dinners and jacking off with your tears, tough to beat.
Jacking off with your tears.
With my
Ouch,
tears.
That hurts.
I cried on my dick.
Oh no.
But you're a guy that I mean, everyone in the business knows you. I feel like everyone says, "Oh yeah, Jesse's my boy." Everyone you talk to, "Oh no, I know Jesse, man," and you've been around forever. But you guys kind of have this business model. For those of you listening that don't know Jesse, so he's the guy behind Roots of Fight. Roots of Fight, you see all these legendary tees with Mike Tyson, Bruce Lee, Evander Holyfield's coming out, and you've done Lyoto Machida. I mean, you name it. All these huge legends of the sport, and everyone's rocking your tee, but I don't think anyone knows the guy behind all this. And that's why we wanted to bring you in, because man, I've been rocking Roots of Fight. I was one of the first guys, and I'm proud of it.
Definitely
Yeah.
one
One
of
of the first
yeah.
guys, man.
Yeah, what I kind of keep behind the scenes. That's the whole thing. I mean, our whole brand is set up to be about the icons, about Evander, about Muhammad, and to shine a light on these kind of great, iconic figures and to tell their stories. But the way we're set up, it feels like we kind of stay in the background. We don't put our brand anywhere on the product, so our logos. So there's no.
Do you actually meet these guys?
All of them? Yeah.
You do?
Every single one.
Really?
Yeah.
Who?
The only people I haven't met personally are Freddie Roach, and then of course the dead icons.
And what people don't know is, but you guys start off as, and you still do, it's basically a film, a documentary base, right? Correct.
Yeah, so we started with making short documentaries about the story. So everything we do, instead of leading with like trend or leading with what's hot or what colors or what products, we start with story, and then story evolves into art to commemorate that story, that time, that what that event was or what that iconic moment was, and then we transfer that art into apparel and translate it so that you can have a piece of that history.
I mean, how do you even go about doing that? Because, I mean, obviously everyone out there would say, oh, I want to sell a Tyson shirt, or I want to sell a Lyoto Machida shirt, or Freddie Roach. So, but how do you even go about even approaching these guys? Because we talked about, you and I had breakfast this morning, where when you meet someone, whether the celebrity or it's a clothing brand or whatever their brand is, whenever you meet someone, especially in LA, I feel as soon as I meet someone, they want something from me. They need something from me. So especially when you're dealing with these legit celebrities, athletes, legends, and you address them, they're like, what is it, man? What do you want?
Yeah, so I mean, we actually have a really strange approach, a really unique approach. I mean, everyone that we go to, we don't lead with money. We are a small group. We're based in Vancouver, Canada. We fly below the radar. We had an agency, so we had a really incredible portfolio to start with where, as an agency, we worked with all these big, alcohol beverage brands, booze brands. So Molson, and we gravitated towards their sports and entertainment properties. So we started working with the NHL, and then Major League Soccer, and then the Olympics, and we kept growing. And then with Heineken, we worked with FIFA and UEFA. And so we really got ingrained in telling stories about the history of these sports and how these brands could attach to it and connect to all these.
So people
fans
kind of
and
wanted.
consumers.
There was a sort of a vanity quotient to it where they wanted to sort of tell their story through a T-shirt.
Well, that's the big thing is now we just applied. We looked at this hole in the market for the fight game. I was a lifelong fight fan and thought, man, there's nothing out there doing like what we're doing for these leagues and for all these teams. And this can be applied into this market. And we'd already built up, like we'd worked with the Stones, the Beatles, the Sex Pistols, AC/DC. And so we had an incredible.
You worked with them before the UFC?
Yeah, as an agency
I didn't know
before.
that.
Yeah, so we'd already built all these stories. We had a great portfolio, so people took us seriously. So that was a huge beginning to it. But I was friends with Shannon Lee, Bruce Lee's daughter, and friends with a guy named Rondi Nicola, who had worked with Evel Knievel, and he was the Ali's family lawyer, still is for the last 30 years. Super supportive. we pitched this idea, this concept of shining a light on the history of combat sports and the evolution of martial arts. And they got behind us. Shannon introduced me to Dana. Rogan started wearing this stuff and supporting right out the gate.
Well, it's cool. It's cool stuff. And I think what's interesting about the idea, I'm trying to go through as I'm talking the 5 biggest moments in combat sports history, and I'm including boxing, MMA.
Just fights in
just
general.
Fights in general. What I think it's interesting is that when fighting is so human, and it speaks to especially men to their core, because it elicits the whole spectrum of emotion: fear, awe, courage, all those things, even shame to an extent. When men watch great fighters, they all feel a little shamed that they're not that guy.
Yeah.
When you see great wars between, say, Mickey Ward and Arturo Gatti, when Jim Lampley's talking about it and he starts to cry,
That's amazing.
and you understand why he's crying, because he's crying because sometimes things are so glorious that it's just too much to handle. Sometimes things are so glorious that you go, that's what human beings are capable of in their best moments. And fighting, the irony of fighting, the idea that, you've got these 2 men savaging each other and trying to knock each other out. A lot of times, man, it brings out the very best in people, as crazy as it sounds. The discipline it requires, the emotional checking you have to do, all of that stuff, the strategy, the teamwork. And I wonder what, to you, was the most. And I'm thinking of the top 5, and I'd like to get your guys'
biggest
points of it.
moments.
I would say, for me, I'd say definitely when Cassius Clay beat Sonny Liston.
Yeah,
You got to put that up there.
Yeah. I'm
You
pretty.
gotta-
I'm a bad man.
Yeah, I mean, he changed the world. I would actually say also when he knocked George Foreman out,
Yeah,
when
Rumble in
nobody
the Jungle.
thought. Yeah. That was the second one probably. But then there was Mike Tyson biting Evander Holyfield's ear. There were infamous moments that I think have to go up there. But would you say when
Definitely one
Holyfield,
of the weirdest moments.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
would say that's a top
Yeah.
5.
maybe not.
Definitely.
Thrill in Manila,
What
for
about
sure.
Yes, Thrill in Manila.
Yep.
One
sure.
of the biggest sporting events of all time.
Yep.
Rumble in the Jungle, what was going on politically at the time.
Yes.
Yeah, amazing stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, because it mirrored a great deal of other of sort of where black men were in society and all that stuff.
I think if
What
you do
about-
top 5, I think you have to it's tough to pick the top 5 fights that changed kind of the evolution of the game, but I think you do top 5 fighters. I think that's almost better to go.
Well, what if you? But
know
what
what
if
I'm
you had to
saying?
choose the events? Because his shirts kind of signify certain events too.
Both. Yeah, we do both.
Would you
We do
say-
both,
They do
yeah.
both.
Yeah.
We do
Would
the
you-
icon and then we
Sure.
do versus series and yeah.
Would you say that when Holyfield beat Tyson for the first time, would you say that's his big?
That was a huge moment in time.
It was huge.
Yeah.
It was huge, but
That
it was
shocked
a
the
little
world.
late too.
Yeah, but that's a pop culture.
No
moment.
Moss-
I mean, that,
the No Moss
that-
thing.
Yeah, No Moss was huge, but the Vander with Mike that crossed over into pop culture. Everybody in the world was watching.
Everyone
that.
wanted to see
Yeah.
that.
And I mean that was just a spectacle, right? That was amazing. But when Tyson won the championship, he's still to this day the youngest heavyweight champion
At
of all
19?
time. I think
Yeah,
he
he's
was
19,
20. I think
right?
he was 20.
Was
yeah,
he?
86.
You would know. You did a
Yeah,
documentary. on it.
86 against Trevor Burbick. And
Yeah.
that was an amazing moment because he was such a ferocious beast. And then it's like when he actually captured the championship, because he was, I think, 19-0, 19. He was 19, 19-0, 19 by knockout. And then that was when at 20 years old, man, he was fighting
I
10
think
times
when
a year or something.
I don't think it's gonna be tough, man. I don't think boxing will ever be better than boxing in the 90s. Like 80s, 90s, the heavyweights, the superstars. It was so
Because of the level of
They
competition.
fought each other, you know.
Well, that was the whole thing, is they were fighters. They weren't
Yes.
just boxers. I mean, this whole thing with Floyd Mayweather saying he's the best, the best of all, the best ever, TBE.
Yeah.
It's like, no, he's an incredibly talented technical boxer. And as much as I hate what he's done to the sport when he had that stage to really lift the sport up, I was just, you got to be in awe of what he's doing out there. To not be hit by the fastest guys.
It's incredible.
Would you ever work with him? Would you ever do a Floyd Mayweather Roots of Fight
I don't
collab?
think so.
What
Yeah,
don't
I'm gonna
you-
have to pass.
What don't you like about Floyd?
TVE Roots of Fight.
Yeah.
I don't like the first of all the best ever stuff. I don't think that he is, because he's not a fighter, because he didn't. I mean, you hear this whole stuff with the beef that he's got with Oscar De La Hoya and stuff. These guys in the great, like when you look at Sugar Ray Leonard, Sugar Ray Robinson, Duran, Hagler, Hearns, Muhammad. When you talk about the guys who are the best,
who lost,
they got in there and fought with so much heart. It wasn't just the technical brilliance. Like, we're really good friends with Lennox Lewis, and he gets a lot of grief.
Fighters.
People think that he wasn't so much of a brawler, but he was so cerebral and he was technical, but he also fought. He also got in there and fought.
Yeah.
And
Talk
you know
about
what?
a freak.
But he doesn't get enough respect. And even George Foreman posted something on Twitter a couple days ago, just saying, man, he is underrated. People don't appreciate. He was the best of all of us.
That's
at that
what he
time.
said. Yeah.
Wow.
They say Lennox Lewis as far as
So big, so strong, so technical, so smart.
Technically and
huge.
Yeah.
He was.
Monster.
His issue is he really didn't have a nation behind him, right? Because he was Jamaican descent, right? But then he
Canadian, won the gold medal for us in
he won a
'88.
gold medal for Canada.
Yeah.
But
Then he went to England.
He also had
UK,
citizenship in England, so
Yeah.
no one really claimed
Fought
him.
in the U.S. most of the time.
He fought here.
That's
so
interesting.
That's what I think.
Yeah, he was
but no one ever really got behind him.
That's very interesting
Because he was always like here.
and he talked like this, but he was also from Canada. I thought he was English. That's so interesting.
Weird.
He
right?
won the
Yeah.
gold medal for Canada.
Yeah.
Yeah, but there wasn't a big enough
Freak.
boxing program for him to support him going pro. So he moved to the UK.
He was
where he had
every bit.
citizenship.
He was every bit 260, I believe.
I think
wasn't
he's
he?
6'5". I think he fought at 6'5", 260, 265.
Think about that.
Yeah.
Shredded.
Yeah. And that's why when I saw Mike Tyson try to fight him, and granted it was way past his prime, it was very interesting to see him kind of be able to neutralize all that kind of. I mean, I don't know if we were looking at I don't think it's a fair comparison. Maybe when Mike was younger, it would have been different.
Yeah, I would have loved to have seen that fight, both of them in their primes.
But,
I would have
yeah.
loved to have seen that fight.
Yeah, it's hard to pick out like certain moments because there was a lot going on. Like when Muhammad Ali, like he was fighting for more than just boxing, right?
Yes.
Like these guys represent more than that. Again, the UFC, a lot of this combat sports talk doesn't happen without the influence of Bruce Lee.
Yeah.
A lot of it doesn't happen.
That's so
without
interesting.
Bruce Lee.
Yeah.
It's very true, by the way.
But
a guy who probably was never actually in a ring. Correct me if I'm wrong. Bruce Lee was more of an acrobat. He had studied
no,
that.
he had
some
a lot
fights.
of fights.
Yeah, he had fights as well.
I've never seen footage of that. Is that
so
true?
He didn't, so he would do tournaments. Like I think he was at, we just did a shirt that you wore the other day.
Love that shirt.
The
Long
internet,
Beach.
the Long Beach, where he was doing demonstrations. But I know, obviously there's this famous fight with Wong Jack Man, and he did fight, but I don't think he fought in a sanctioned arena.
But it's reported. Yeah, he has tons of fights.
I don't-
70-something fights.
I think a lot of that though was like, first of all, he went to the school of, I believe, acrobatics in Hong Kong. I think it was. He trained to be a performer from a very young age, and of course he got obsessed with fighting.
He was a child actor. Yeah.
Yes, he was a child actor, and he got obsessed. But he learned gymnastics and all that. They had a very rigorous program that I think Jackie Chan actually went through as well. So they learned how to tumble and they learned how to do all this stuff. It's kind of there's a real tradition of Chinese acrobatics that's incredible. Like they're amazing. You can pull it up on the internet. I went to China, the mainland of China, in 1985. And I saw the craziest.
To live with the monks?
Nope. We went as tourists, and it was very communist back then. Everybody wore blue jumpsuits, and everybody was on a bicycle. It was the most incredible.
Wait, so you saying Bruce Lee's not a real fighter?
I'm saying he's not. I'm saying he's not a real fighter at all. In fact, and you can see these guys standing on one finger. They don't just do a handstand; they do it on their fingers, and then they finally do it on one finger. It's so sick. But Bruce Lee was not, and then he got obsessed with boxing and all that. But Bruce Lee never actually put himself in a ring against seasoned fighters.
He was not a professional fighter for sure.
No,
but he did train. He did fight. He just he trained Wing Chun under Ip Man, right? I mean that's and then trained grappling, fencing, dance.
He did all of it.
It was definitely for the movies.
He's a
lot
performer,
of choreography and performance. But
his
he also
influence,
was
you're
a true
right.
martial artist, true philosopher,
His
and
business
shone a
model.
light on as a philosopher on people just expressing themselves, being themselves. You let your light shine was this whole thing, and be your true self.
Well, he also kind of like was the first guy to say, "Hey, I'm Chinese and I'm a small dude." And I can beat the shit out of all of you.
Yeah.
And so all of us, when we would see a Chinese, like that, literally, like you're right, he changed. Like I believe without Bruce Lee, I mean, karate and karate schools are as American as apple pie.
Yeah.
Everybody knows something about karate. Taekwondo, whatever it might be.
He was the first to create the curriculum as a business plan.
Sure.
To bring it here.
Right,
Yeah.
which is incredible.
Jim Fan
And
Kung Fu.
so now
Insane.
we all looked at Chinese men, and you'd see a dude, and you'd be like, dude, you never know, man. Those guys they study shit that can knock out.
we
They can beat
assume they have
They
all
can beat
that
up 5
depth of
guys.
touch,
But he broke,
Yes.
but he broke barriers too, in that he started teaching non-Asians, which was totally not acceptable
Yes.
at the time. It was
Ooh.
like, and again, we look at everybody. We look at the Gracies, we look at Bruce, we look at Eddie Bravo, we look at people who at a point in time break from tradition to change and enhance
They
or
evolve the sport.
the sport.
Yeah.
And this is the whole thing. I mean, for us, it's the evolution of martial arts, or the history of martial arts, and the evolution of combat sports. You can actually see what points in time the Machida. So our tribute was more to Machida Karate and Lyoto's father than
his
Machida.
dad, yes.
Than Lyoto. Lyoto's a good friend and has been a huge supporter. But his father really broke from tradition, from Shotokan at the time, which was not acceptable, and started adapting the art and changing tradition, and was an outcast for it.
Well,
And
you have to remember that in Asian societies, in Chinese, in Korean, in Japanese especially, when you are a student, you are to learn what your teacher tells you to the nth degree.
Yes.
And to step outside of that, to try to revolutionize or do something better than your teacher, is considered heresy a lot of times.
course.
Your teacher would lose face.
Yeah.
And you would never want your teacher to lose face. So you always have your master. You can never be better than master. The people, the Mavericks that went on to do that, of course, that's how a sport evolves. Americans are completely irreverent, and that's probably why martial arts has grown exponentially now. I mean, look at what the Brazilians are the same way. The Brazilians were more lackadaisical about it. They're like, come on, bro, we're wrestling, man. We're doing jiu-jitsu. There's going to be people that are going to come up with better ideas. Be careful. The bottom line is when you fight and you try to be combative with somebody and 2 guys are trying to best each other, you're going to come. Creative people are going to shine through, and they're going to come up with better ideas. But that was always considered somewhat heretical.
Oh, yeah.
And Bruce Lee came along and not only did that, but I think the biggest thing that Bruce Lee had was a sense of humor. He was funny.
Yeah.
Like he was a funny dude.
He was a prankster too.
Yes.
Yeah.
Did you, with all your research and the Bruce Lee family and his daughter and stuff like that, do they have a clear answer on his death? Right? Like there's a lot of weird stuff.
Yeah, and actually we have a blog coming out. So you were talking earlier about like the greatest moments in history. Boxing had something that I've talked about with Dana since I first met him, is like they had Mailer, they had Plimpton, all these writers that were amazing literary figures that were able to capture the ethos and how it was part of the human condition. Watching fighting was in our
Poetic.
DNA.
They brought poetry to it.
Yeah, and they made it accessible and acceptable to mainstream and to the mainstream elite. So boxing was a sport that was, you see people at ringside. Frank Sinatra took pictures at the height of his career at the fight of the century in Madison Square Garden. Frank Sinatra, like the biggest star on the planet
What
at the
was
time,
the fight of the
was
century?
ringside taking photos. It was Ali versus Frazier 1 at Madison Square Garden in 71.
Wow.
But it was like so star-studded. It was part of every part of culture and high-end, like at the elite level, like the aristocrats and stuff
Yeah.
were watching, because these guys were able to capture how this is so poignant and so the intensity and the balletic beauty of what these guys are doing, and how much energy and greatness comes out of
Yeah.
this.
Do you think
It also-
that's gone now?
Well, it's funny. So there's a friend of ours, Chuck Mindenhall, is an incredible writer, and he's been doing a blog for us. And he wrote some stuff, for us about Thrill in Manila and about Rumble in the Jungle. And he just did a piece for us on Bruce Lee that we're launching on Friday, I think, on our blog, or Thursday.
This Friday?
It's Bruce Lee's 75th birthday on Friday, so it would have been.
Sick.
And he talks about his death, and there's no. I mean, I've talked to Linda, I've talked to Shannon. There's no mystery here. It's sad, and it was a tragedy, but
He died of an aneurysm?
it was an endemic aneurysm.
Because they said he
Maybe
took like sleeping
It's a
pills,
reaction.
right?
No, it's some sort of reaction to like an anacin or something.
That's
that
right,
Was
like
it was a freak, tragic thing. And
Yeah,
and
he was how old? 27?
It wasn't a
or
no
33? How old was
conspiracy.
he?
I think he was 30. I think it was 73, and I think he was 32.
32, yeah.
Yeah.
He took a aspirin or something like that,
Yeah,
right?
and
And then
just
took a nap or something, right?
Yeah, it's something. Just there was some sort of I don't remember the technical terms. It's like and demix something
Sure.
or other. And
So with
but
his
it's-
family, there's no mystery.
No,
So all
there's
these
no-
conspiracy
no.
theorists
Yeah,
can
it's
kind
just
of shut your
baloney.
yapper.
Yeah, I love those guys who
baloney.
are like, "What are you talking about, dude? The Chinese mafia killed him."
Yeah.
That's
Yeah,
obvious.
there's
I
so
can,
much
I
out
can
there.
show you YouTube videos on it. It's been proven. I have
His
graphs.
family's like, well, no.
First of all, I
Just
shouldn't-
kinda took an aspirin
Yeah,
and
it
it
was
fucking
very
sad.
sad.
I shouldn't even be talking about it because, by the way, they killed him and they brought him back to life. I don't know if you
Yeah.
guys know that. He's living in the mountains right now.
But he was amazing because he basically was one of the first people that said, "Hey, look, man, if I'm going to fight somebody who's a 140-pound farm boy from Iowa who's been wrestling his whole life, and I line up, I stand against him and face him, and he doesn't get into a traditional kata, my shit's out the window."
Yes. Yeah.
He's like, that dude's going to put me on my ass,
Smart
and
guy,
I'm not
man.
going to be able to move.
Yeah.
And
Very
so he
smart
started
guy.
training grappling and wrestling, and
Well, he does an armbar and Enter the Dragon.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's a straight up armbar that he puts
Yeah.
the guy in, and I was like, "Damn!" But haven't they always used that in judo, Brennan?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's always been a-
Yeah.
But Judo Gene LaBelle was the one teaching him grappling.
Yes.
Oh wow!
Yeah.
Yep. Gene
We
LaBelle's.
did a
I've
great
worked
doc
with
on
Gene.
Judo
I've,
Gene LaBelle.
I've worked with that guy. He's nasty.
He is a piece
He was
of
also with
work.
Chuck Norris, too.
Yeah,
and
Chuck Norris,
is a
yeah.
black belt. in
Yeah,
jiu-jitsu.
and I don't
Yeah.
think there was any question about levels of competency in fighting. Chuck Norris and Bruce. Chuck was I think a 7-time world karate champion. You know, I don't think there was any
as a
ever
guy who fought,
discrepancy
as a
of-
guy who fought in those tournaments, as a high school athlete, and fought Chuck Norris's students actually, and his good black belts. It's just like for me, I guess I have so much respect for. And also having been just a high school wrestler, like I just, when I look at the UFC, I know it's evolved and it's not a fair comparison, but when I look back on what those Shotokan tournaments were, because I fought in a lot of them,
Yeah.
what those Taekwondo tournaments were, all due respect, because some guys can knock your head off. It's just, there is a big difference. There's a,
Between that and UFC?
yeah.
I don't
man.
think anyone's comparing.
No,
No,
then they're
yeah,
not.
yeah.
And
That's
they're not.
fucked up.
Well, I
And
was,
they're
I
not.
was just comparing Chuck and
between
Bruce.
all-
That doesn't.
Yeah.
That doesn't. You can't take that
yeah.
away from.
But even
those
Muay
guys.
Thai,
That's not fair.
I know, even Muay Thai and K1, like one of the things, all I'm saying is that back in 1987, 88, when I was fighting in tournaments and stuff, there was this idea that if you were a second-degree black belt in Shotokan karate, in Kyokushin or whatever it was, in Taekwondo, you were in a lot of ways the baddest dude on the planet. And that was a very insular community where guys were not getting in there with boxers necessarily or wrestlers. So it's just, I remember really appreciating the UFC the first time I
But
saw it.
there's
Now
definitely
it's
some
fighting.
badasses inside.
No
that
doubt.
circle,
No doubt.
for
No
sure.
doubt.
Well,
Yeah.
what about Wonder Boy? Like those guys. Who
Look
just
at
come
Anthony
in,
Pettis.
right?
Anthony Pettis, GSP. They came from karate background, so it really helped
Well,
them.
you got
Leon
Wonder
Machida.
Boy though. Yeah, that's his background. Yeah, world class.
And he'll knock you out.
54-0.
And he'll knock you out. Yeah.
There's a lot of badasses. in
But
there.
Chuck,
no
Chuck
doubt.
versus Bruce. I mean, Chuck was a a world champion karate. Like he was a world champion, world kickboxing champion, karate
yeah,
champion.
yeah.
So.
Chuck has a legit
Yeah,
background.
and
What's
he also
Chuck-
trained with the Gracies. He
Sure.
trained
Yeah.
with the Gracies
Oh, yeah.
right
Now
from
he's a
the
black
right
belt.
from the late
He's
70s.
been a black belt for a long time.
Yeah.
yeah, long time.
Yeah.
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 What's Chuck Norris do now? We don't see him much. I saw him in
Push-ups.
Expendables.
Push-ups.
Push-ups.
He push-ups and power
He pushes the world down.
Yeah, that's right, man.
I don't know. We just I haven't actually seen a lot of him or
What's up with the
heard
Chuck
about him, but
Norris
I think
shirt?
we're gonna do more.
Really?
Yeah, I
That
think
he's so sick.
we
Dude,
have
Chuck
a,
Norris.
I'll buy
rocking
that.
it.
We gotta
Make it
just
funny.
make sure it's. I don't think we can do that.
Can't
Like,
make
I
it funny.
think
That
it's
would
like-
be the worst.
How many
idea.
push-ups
I
does
think-
Chuck Norris do? All of them. He does all the
Well,
push-ups.
there's bullshit shirts out there like that.
love
though.
that.
That's
Yeah.
it.
I wouldn't wear that shirt.
We stay away from the novelty. We'll
Yeah,
try
for
and focus.
sure.
We'll
Yeah, but
focus
he's-
on his roots. We'll focus on where he
100%,
studied
man.
and how he came up
He's
and
a
his
game
first
changer.
championships and
Yeah, but there is a difference between Chuck Norris, Bruce Lee, and fighters, like guys who really got out there, like good K1 fighters.
I don't. But you're the only one that compares these guys. No one's saying Bruce Lee and Chuck Norris
all right.
are the same as Mirko Krokop
right.
and Wanderlei
As long as
Silva.
that's what we're saying.
You do.
No, I'm just saying. All right.
He's talking about game changers of
Yeah.
martial arts.
yeah, evolutionary moments. And hey, Eddie Bravo with the no-gi stuff, like really taking a look at
Yeah, man,
changing
his
the game.
jiu-jitsu,
Yeah, his jiu-jitsu.
But
That
a
was
completely different
yeah.
view
And he
to
was
jiu-jitsu.
he was an outcast. I mean, still a lot of the Brazilian jiu-jitsu community also has still problems.
Well,
with him, right?
Eddie's such a firebrand. Eddie'll just smoke weed and just talk conspiracy shit and then tie you in a knot.
Well, Eddie's thing is, the whole no-gi movement.
Yeah.
Like a lot of people thought traditional jiu-jitsu, you have to have a gi and follow this protocol and stuff. stuff like that. And here comes this guy, with full blown double sleeved up tattoos and like, nah, man, I'm doing rash guard, no gi.
Yeah.
But he said it was more practical for if you're going to get in a cage because
and that's legit.
No one's wearing a gi.
Legit.
And
and he
that was
also
game changer.
he's also a guy who started naming his own techniques.
Yeah.
Rubber guard and stuff like that. Was that butterfly guard?
He was one of the first people we did a short doc on and signed. Like we'd had Bruce, we'd had Muhammad, we had the Gracies. We had met with Henner, Huron, and Horion, and they had agreed to sign on. And then we went and I asked them, of course, if they were cool with us working with Eddie. A friend of mine that was training with Eddie was a brown belt under him at the time, and he was like, they were like, yeah, for sure, go, yeah, he's great. And went and met him, and he was like, I wouldn't be here if it wasn't for the Gracies. I got no beef with them.
I hate when guys don't give the Gracies their due.
Yeah.
Like the Gracies did change. Again, another guy, is it Helio?
Helio, yeah.
Talk about a revolutionary mind and a guy who changed everything. And then, of course, his son who put on the first UFC, Horion.
Yeah.
You got to give those guys their due. It's so, and Royce Gracie, and we do.
I think everyone
we
does.
do. We do. No, that's not true. Because what happens is I've talked to plenty of people who go, I've had these conversations with young MMA guys who go, nah, I don't do Gracie Jiu-Jitsu. That sucks. It's not good for MMA. All right, dude. But just have some fucking respect for where you came from, because you're too young to even know. I've heard that from a lot of guys who are like,
no one in my circle.
We don't do
that.
We don't do that.
I've never heard that.
I have.
You run in these weird circles.
I have. You don't. Oh, so you don't think a lot of MMA guys? You don't think a lot of MMA guys? Yeah. Oh, I hear it all. What are you talking about? I hear it all the time where guys go, Gracie Jiu-Jitsu is not effective. You fucking doing that bullshit, you're going to get...
Maybe they say gi. Maybe training in a gi.
Sure, or whatever. I'm just saying you hear a lot of people kind of forget sometimes where you're like, hey.
Where it all came from.
Easy.
I mean, that's the whole thing for us is trying to shine a light on where everything came from. Where did it start? Make sure that people aren't forgotten, whether it's Elio or Carlos. I mean, it was him and Carlos. It wasn't just Elio. We Henzo, Hoyce. We're trying to go through and find not just the best of one or shine it specifically. I mean, we do a lot of the boxers because boxing has a richer, greater history that's much more public for everybody, and they're more accessible. But, we work with 60 world champions from all different disciplines. So
is Henzo Gracie the coolest guy in the world?
I would say
Is he the most interesting man you've ever worked? Dude,
I would have to say Henzo Gracie is.
He might be
the greatest person of all time.
It's tough to argue.
He's
like
so
when
awesome.
I met with him, I felt like I knew him my entire life.
So awesome.
You feel like Uncle Henzo.
Yeah, I feel like I can call him right now.
You
could call him right now. He'd be like, "Boy, Brandon, how you doing?"
Dude, he's got this incredible combination of being funny, not taking himself seriously, not taking anything seriously, and taking everything seriously.
And the best stories of all time.
Oh my God.
All time.
So it's literally the first time I had dinner with him, we're sitting around a table and there are like 15 people at a table and everybody's just like,
oh, dude, he's
everybody's
memorized.
just like,
Dude,
everybody's just
charisma.
every word. He's like the best.
Charisma.
Not only does he have the most amazing stories, but he is the best storyteller ever.
Yes,
it's just like
he has a gift,
like a
man.
tractor beam.
I agree.
He told me stories. He's
just telling this to me.
Dude, but before I compete against Cyborg and Metamoris, I went to Henzo's academy in New York to train, and we went over stuff. And the stuff he was showing me, I was like, well, yeah, it's in 2 weeks, but that wouldn't be cool. I mean, he was showing me some insane
techniques,
leg locks and knee bars. I was like, yeah, probably not going to work for this one, though. Why? Why not try it? Why? No, I get it, but yeah.
Well, that's what he would say. He's like, I was talking to these guys. All of them, they're like, I want to be somewhere else. I was like, I want to be right there. That's my favorite place. There's nowhere else I want to be. But in the ring, man, it's so good. Even my face gets all look at this, look at my face, man. After he fought, what's his name, BJ Penn. How many people look at my face? I got beat up like that,
Oh man, again, when Sakuraba broke his arm, he's like,
he watched it.
Yeah, he's like, go ahead, break it.
And
he's like, come on. He's like, and he talks about what a pleasure it was to have his arm broken
he has
by a
it
legend
framed.
like that.
He has it framed in his school. He has the picture framed, and he looks at it every day to never make that mistake again.
He's the sweetest guy too. He's
the best.
He makes everybody feel like they're, their family.
He was telling me when he was single, he goes, Brendan, you have to keep the girls on their toes. He goes, I lied to her all the time when I was young. He goes, I would be at Burger King. I would tell her I was at McDonald's. I'm like, why? He's like, just so she cannot count on me. He's like, I always kept her on her toes.
Yeah.
He's like, so take that with you. I was like, okay. All right, man, I guess I'll use that advice.
He would give he would give me privates when I was like an actor in New York, and
Wow.
I would come with my buddy, and he'd give us like an hour and a half private lesson. Right, this is Henso Gracie teaching us stuff, and I would try to give him money, and he would throw it back at you. Like that guy was just one of those people who didn't. It wasn't even about the money; it was about the experience, and I didn't even know him that well. I'd be like, dude, thank you. I go, take this shit, get the fuck out of here, man. Like that. I was
Dude,
like, dude.
I wish we could get him to come west.
Yeah, I know.
He's a guy that I wish I could.
He's the busiest man too. He is just always doing something.
Always something.
Yeah.
I'm just getting on a plane. I was 2 hours late. They held the plane. Like he's got. Again, the
How about
stories,
Professor
man.
John Donner? Is it,
He's just
Donaher.
absolute.
Donaher's another one
He's
who
a
would
genius. Yeah.
He I would have these long talks. I love philosophy, and he has his PhD in philosophy.
Columbia,
I think from
right?
Columbia. Yeah,
he's a monster.
And I would talk to him about like who the most influential people were. And one time he said, probably the Apology by Socrates. As Socrates was dying, he after he drank the hemlock, and he was explaining why his death, as his students were crying, how his death meant nothing. He said, have I taught you nothing? I'm just the flesh is going away, but my spirit will go on. And everything.
What
And
do they call him a simplest? Is that what? Because
Minimalist.
Because
A
he only
minimalist.
uses like one bowl, one
Dude.
spoon.
Oh yeah.
John, yes, John
Same
would come
bowl,
in.
same spoon for
and sometimes
And a rash guard.
Back when he was younger,
I saw him
Yes.
at a bar, rash guard,
Yep.
jeans. I was like,
man.
bro, what the fuck are you doing?
Otavia's like, hey, can we make a rash guard for Donner? And I'm like, why would we make a rash guard? He's like, I would love to do one of your shirts, but in a rash guard for him. And I
Dude,
was
he
like,
needs to rock.
I was
Dude,
like,
he was
at a bar, rash guard, jeans.
Yeah,
And
he
not
was-
like a tuxedo funny rash guard, like straight
No.
jiu-jitsu
I
rash
saw
guard.
him in one in Whole Foods.
Awesome.
He's standing in line. Last time I was in New York, and then last time I saw him, and he's in New York, and I go, John. He's like, hey, and we start talking, and he's in his rash guard, and he has this thing where, like Hensel used to say, the guys, sometimes he comes in, his head is down, looking down. I was like, what's the matter, John? It's too much. The guy has a mind, always thinking about philosophy and everything. I was like, John, take it easy. He's like, so the guy sometimes can be very dark, man. It's really dark.
Oh,
And then now apparently he has this thing. I don't know if it's still the same. Where if you say hi to him and any of the guys say hi, it's like, hey, how you doing? Go fuck yourself. That's how they answer each other, just to fuck with each other. Go fuck yourself. Like he's a complete nihilist. It's just
how about what
jiu-jitsu.
he's doing with Gary Tonin and with Eddie the Wolverine and I mean, there's
Game
some
changer, man.
Just nasty stuff.
Different animal. That guy
Leg locks.
views jiu-jitsu different than
He's
the
a
rest
brilliant,
of the world.
yeah,
Brilliant guy.
Yeah.
Whether it was jiu-jitsu or whatever he gravitated towards,
Yeah.
I think he was going to change the game.
yeah. He's such a. He lives like a monk, like a true monk. He's a monk. Actually, John is a fucking modern day monk. He's a Shaolin monk.
It's so interesting, man.
And he's a minimalist. He's another word for
And
it
a
is
genius.
an
He's a
ascetic.
genius.
An ascetic who
Legit
strategist,
genius.
yeah.
Legit
yeah,
genius. Yeah.
because that's what he thinks about, and the other stuff is all I think he reads. I think he sleeps on a straw mat.
Oh, yeah.
I think he's
Eats
practices
with his spoon
he practices
and his
abstinence.
one bowl
Oh,
and his
fucking
Yeah, and he's got
crazy,
for a
man.
while there. He had a terrible. I hope he's listening to this. A terrible Friar Tuck haircut. Like the
still
guy
has
was
it.
losing
He
his
still
hair.
has it.
He'd keep his hair long. I was like, John.
That doesn't go anywhere, my man.
Man.
It's still rocks.
Well, I
not
think the last time I
getting
saw it, he had actually cut it. And he
The back.
Yeah, he
The
cut.
top.
It used to be he used to be a deadly Friar Tuck. John Donner was a deadly Friar Tuck, and I used to try to roll with him, and I'd say stuff like, I'm such an idiot. I'd go, John, there's nothing you can do when I have this. Though there's nothing. And John would go, you're probably right, unless I were to do this.
You're right.
And there's nothing I
a
can
little
do.
Hannibal
would
Lecter-ish,
love
which
to
is
see
just
that.
like,
I would,
oh no.
I would get behind him. I would sneak up behind him, and I would snake us choking, and I'd go, John. And I was like a shitty blue belt. Hence, would just give me my blue belt, and I'd be like this. I go, John. When I'm here, it's not your fault that you go to sleep. It's very difficult. And John would go, I've never seen this move before. It seems to me that I would usually say that you're doing this wrong. Only because I could do this and then this, and he'd be breaking my wrist. I'd be like,
Dude, if someone was like, yeah, John's killed over 1 million people in his lifetime, I'd be like, I wouldn't even be like, what? I'd be like, nah, it makes sense.
No, exactly. No, if you told me that, there was a guy who was putting on a mask and he was killing bad guys. And we found all their bones in his apartment. I'd be like, well, that's John. He's a superhero.
Yeah, I know the guy. Yeah,
The quiet assassin? Yeah, the quiet
I
assassin.
think I know who you're talking about. Yeah.
What would John Danaher do? That's what we got to
How
have.
about
So-
Kenzo choking people out and being like, "This is what it feels like to die."
Dude.
And then they wake up and it's like, "This is what it
The
feels
best,
like to
man.
die."
So for you guys, you've obviously established yourself in the MMA game, and now it's about moving towards the other, more mainstream sports, huh?
It's all about evolution, baby.
Yeah, man.
Yeah, so I mean, we still have a bunch of boxers. Like we just dropped a whole bunch of. Well, we dropped Evander. We just dropped a bunch of the old school guys: Jake LaMotta, Sugar Ray Robinson, Joe Louis, Cinderella Man, Jack Dempsey. So we dropped a lot of the old school guys, and now we're moving into. We want to keep on growing Roots of Fight. So we have a few more boxers. We're working on trying to get Arturo Gotti and Mickey Ward and Julio Cesar Chavez
That'd be
and
sick.
Oscar De La Hoya, hopefully, and Sugar Ray Leonard and Duran and Hagler and Hearns and
Jesus.
Foreman. So we're in the works with all of that stuff right now. And hopefully we'll get a bunch of that stuff done for next year to keep growing Roots of Fight, start adding hats,
Yeah, I'm not mad
that
at the
kind
hats.
of stuff. And then bags and some other things. But really, once that's set, we want to venture into other sports. So we're going to launch Roots of Baseball in the spring this year with Jackie Robinson and Babe Ruth. And then we're going to launch right behind that. And I think in September, for their basketball, we're going to launch Roots of Basketball. And then right after that, Roots of Football.
I love
Yeah.
all that stuff.
And is it more challenging moving to these more mainstream sports, like getting the contacts and creating the content for these
Yeah, it's
type
definitely.
of legends?
It's a lot more challenging. The scale is bigger. We got to deal with the leagues as we do it. So I flew and met with the MLB last year. We've worked closely with the NHL for many years with our other brand, Lancaster. As I said, we had forged a really strong relationship and built a whole bunch of retail merchandising programs for the NHL. So good relationship there. The NBA, we're hoping soon. We're talking with Magic Johnson and Larry Bird's team, and I flew out and met with Dr. J a few weeks ago in Philadelphia. And
Did you talk to Dr. J about how he threw a punch at Larry Bird and how they got in a fight?
we didn't manage to talk about that. It was actually a really tough weekend. It was his golf charity thing, and he had, Moses had just passed away, and Daryl Dawkins, and so I was trying to be very respectful. We had the golf tournament went on, even though the tragedies, but we had a couple of great conversations, and I think we're gonna.
Those NBA legends, it's like Final Destination. These bad boys are dying.
They're-
Like,
well-
boom, boom.
Well, they're so big,
man,
right?
yeah, big man,
They're
big
huge.
hearts, yeah.
They're giant
huge.
men.
But
Yeah.
the whole thing.
Think about all the guys you compete against passing away.
God,
Yeah,
dude, and they're in
yeah.
their 60s, right?
Yeah. But you think about this. So
Huge.
Dr.
Giant
J in the 60s used to play at Rucker Park, and his nickname before being called the Doctor was Black Moses. So, I mean, we've got some really
Why
cool stuff.
Black Moses?
Because he could
could do
walk
everything.
on water.
Yeah.
He was
He could
like,
part the Red
if
Sea.
there's a documentary
Legit
on YouTube.
name.
I can't remember what it's called,
Moses.
but there are something like 5,000 people on building tops that would come to watch him play.
Damn.
So like in the early 60s, he was coming there and was doing stuff that was just so revolutionary, so crazy, insanely athletic, acrobatic. People would come from all over the place to watch him play. So for us, we're going to focus on not needing the leagues to begin with. Hopefully we have, great relationships with them and can grow into it. But to start with, it's going to be just like this. It's going to be icon focused, about a moment in time, about their roots. It won't be, Magic Johnson, the Los Angeles Lakers, unless we actually forge that relationship with the leagues.
Well, for
we're going
you-
to start small, always.
Yeah, because for you guys, it's more about the legend, the athlete, not the leagues. But that's where
But it gets
That's gonna
tricky
get
because
tricky.
you can't.
It's gonna get
because
super
Yeah, because
tricky.
we do. I mean, one thing that you touched on right at the beginning, because we have personal relationships with all of these people. Like I'm flying back here to meet with Magic personally. The only person. So Larry Bird doesn't do any meeting in person. He doesn't do any filming. He doesn't
doesn't.
do any. He's very like a recluse.
Why is that?
He just
You
doesn't
never
like it.
see that guy.
He's always been like that.
never. I never thought
Yeah.
about
Larry
that.
Bird does not. My friends of mine tried to
doesn't
do
do
a
interviews.
documentary about him. He was like,
Nothing.
nah.
Nope.
He won't do anything.
Nothing.
Why?
And even for some, because I think he's head of basketball operations for Indiana.
Pacers, yes.
Yeah, so he will do, I think, 15 minutes of press like a year. Something ridiculous. Like he'll give a lot of times for certain things, and that's it.
He's just over it.
Yeah, but hopefully, if Dr. J does come on board and Magic comes on board like we think they're going to, and what's been indicated to us, then we hope that kind of we do a year with them, and hopefully everything gets developed. I mean, we're going to go snail's pace. We don't go out there blazing, guns blazing and acting like we're going to take over the world. We still got these Canadian sensibilities. We take it slow. We're
Probably the best way to
respectful. We don't try and get too big for our britches. We go out there and do our best and try and shine a light on these legends, and then hopefully we can grow them into something special.
Has there been, you don't have to say names, but has there been athletes who have been tougher to deal with than others?
Nobody is tough to deal with when we meet them and start working with them. It's tough to meet some
it's the
people.
initial.
So, Chavez, that's like a guy that we've tried to work with tried to get to work with for the last 2 years.
Cesar Chavez?
Yeah. And, we went back and forth with Oscar De La Hoya for a bit, but he just dropped off. He's got Golden Boy to run. He's got these things. So it's some people are just too busy. They don't know who we are. I'm not a brash guy. As you said, I never do this kind of stuff. I'm here with you guys because you're friends, and I love doing this. But I don't go out and I'm not the face man for the company, right? So I'm the face man behind the scenes to get all the deals done and to talk to everybody about bringing them on and sharing my passion for what we're doing and why we're doing it. But so a lot of people don't know us. And so a lot of these guys are like, oh, fuck, everybody's hitting me up. Everybody wants something. And, it's hard. Our whole line that we lead with is, we can't promise you riches. We're not Nike. We're not Adidas. I can't come in with a,
for now you
$500,000, start to just endorse us. And we don't put our brand anywhere on it. So you got to build with us. You got to plant seeds with us. And, look what happens. Mike
That's
Tyson,
true. You don't
tell a story, though.
Yeah, we tell your stories. So we are basically doing a value in trade, in applying all of our agency skills and everything we've done at a big level for these groups and building their brand, because this is all about Evander. We're giving them content. We're giving them their stories. This is how I try and boil it down in its simplest form. We try and connect these icons with their own histories by telling their stories, and then we act as a conduit connecting them to their fans, showing their place in history and connecting them to all the icons of today who have achieved excellence, who can show their appreciation for the people that built the house that they're playing.
Yeah, man. What you're doing is you're bringing back these legends and make them relevant again. You're seeing kids who maybe they didn't know Evander's story. Maybe they don't know Mike Tyson's background. Maybe they don't know the influence that Lyoto Machida's dad had on certain things. So I don't get why they wouldn't jump on board, because I don't see anyone out there just, oh my God, we need to release all these Evander Holyfield.
Everybody wants their legacy to be.
That's it. It's all about legacy, and it's usually the business managers, the lawyers.
Yeah, they get
Those
involved.
are the people that don't want to have it happen because they want the dollars up front because they make their commissions.
Yeah.
But when we talk to the icons themselves, which is why we go so slow, it's like, I don't go chase anybody. I don't try and cold call anybody. It's like, Evander will introduce me to somebody. Lennox will introduce me to somebody. Boom Boom will introduce me to somebody.
Oh, Boom Boom Mancini.
He's
kind of jiu-jitsu. And
he's in Santa Monica.
Yeah.
What, can I ask you a question? And it's a delicate question, and you don't have to answer it because you may not.
I'm a
be
delicate
able to.
man.
Well, you've met a lot of these fight legends.
Yep.
And
I know where you're going.
yeah, you've met a lot of these fight legends and had conversations with them. And it's a difficult question, and you may not. I'm sure. To what degree do you think most of them have some kind of head trauma?
Virtually all of them.
Virtually all.
Oh yeah, and I think they'll all
I think you're gonna
acknowledge
honey
it.
dick us and be like,
No,
they're good, man.
No, you can't. And again, a lot of them will come out straight and say it. I don't know. I don't want to betray any confidences or anything, so I won't talk about people specifically.
No, you don't have to.
But pretty much everybody will say, they'll joke, I've been hit in the head too much, or, I forgot to do this, or, sometimes I get in my car and I'm driving someplace and I forget where I'm going.
Yeah,
or
see, I
where
really wonder.
And they're young. Some of them are 50. Some of them are in their 40s. Got even some of the UFC boys.
Some of the UFC boys.
I really wonder as like some of the UFC boys, but I really, really do wonder as we're learning more about the brain and we're learning about just how damaging all of these sports are, from football to boxing to MMA. And now in high school, there are a lot of, sort of movements to say, look, the brain's still developing. I don't want my son putting on a helmet. Football is a great sport. It's an American sport, and I think it's part of what makes this country great in some ways. Like, I just love the sport. But I do understand it's going to be really interesting as you learn more about what is actually happening to your brain, and more importantly, as you learn that there's nothing you can do as a tough guy, even if your neck is really thick and all, to stop that brain from jostling in that skull. And that, by the way, when you're 40, when you're 50, when you're 60, whenever it might be, you are going to notice, cognitive differences.
Yeah, unless you're George Chuvalo. That dude is just like he's got a fire hydrant for a head or something.
Nothing,
it's
yeah.
amazing. He's in his
Certain
70s.
guys,
He's like,
it's weird,
what's
man.
up, champ? How you doing?
Certain guys, man.
Yeah.
But, so I played rugby for a season when I was younger. All my friends played rugby. Then I discovered football where I could put on a helmet and pads and was just like, oh, my God, you can murder people with impunity.
Yeah.
You can. But I wasn't realizing, the trauma that I was inflicting on myself.
No one did
Then
at the
I
time.
started in martial arts, started, bare knuckle fighting when I was a kid as an idiot, just, bouncing at bars and stuff. And I look at, I went through that lifestyle as a young man. I stopped completely in my kind of early mid-20s. And my kids, I got 10 and 12-year-old kids. They've been in martial arts since they're 4. They take Gracie Jiu-Jitsu. They take Muay Thai. But I don't really want my boy playing football. I don't want to see my kids.
It's a delicate balance.
If he wants to, I'll support him and I'll try and make him do it the healthiest way possible. But even as an athlete, somebody who's done all this stuff, I'm actually seeing like, man, I don't want to see my kids go
don't
through
you
that.
think with people with their heroes, like we see, you see Muhammad Ali, Evander Holyfield, all these guys, even younger guys than that, but you see your heroes and you're like, holy shit, man.
Yes.
That's the end of this road.
Yes, but at the same time, I also really, really appreciate, and I think a great deal is gained from combat sports, from engaging in dangerous activity and risk taking.
The juice sometimes is
Hens-
worth the squeeze.
It is, and I, like,
Henzo
for
won't agree
example,
with that.
yeah, and I think that a lot of times you see the best in people, especially men. I'm speaking for men, but also women. My God, look at Holly Holmes and Ronda Rousey and these guys. Holly Holm.
Yep.
Thank you. And you see some of there is certain glory. And you see humanity at its best in high relief when they are risking it all. And I don't want to live in a world where that doesn't exist. I really appreciate it.
But you can do it without. I mean,
well, that's
I want
what I'm
my
saying.
kids
There's
to
a
play
balance.
basketball. I want my kids to play racket sports, golf. I want them to still
Just
do
depends,
stuff.
man. But
and
if he's
do
drawn to
jiu-jitsu.
fighting, there's not much you can do.
Hey, man, I bring them down here every summer to
True,
train.
yeah,
to
with
train,
Henner,
to train with Henner and Huron. They train with Hoyce's group in Vancouver. They do Hapkido. They do kickboxing since they're 4. So for sure they're going to.
It's also like with you.
If you're a legend, you've made multi millions of dollars, you have all this fame. When you're 70, if you shit your pants every now and then, you forget where you're driving. It's kind of worth it.
I think so too. Like one of the things about Brendan that cracks me up is that Brendan is a guy who's very sensitive to other people's feelings, and he's also, if you really talk to him, he's not aggressive. He doesn't like to talk about fighting and stuff. But make no mistake that when you play football for that long and you fought in the UFC and you had to really engage in combat, that also comes with a certain personality. So I can see him sometimes just get riled. I'll see him rile up.
It's rare.
And he gets combative, but it manifests itself in other ways, like in business. If people aren't doing their job, if I'm not doing my job, if he's not doing his job, or I can see the fighter in him. I can see the fighter that comes out of him. I can see it. And I was talking about the other day, his work ethic, which is, when you're fighting and you're not prepared for a fight, you're going to pay for it by being unconscious. So you're going to be working. And there are certain things that when I see him rile up, or I see him kind of get challenged and start meeting it, I kind of chuckle. I kind of love it. I get a little giddy because I'm like, look at that motherfucker. He's always trying to be this metrosexual, but there's the fighter. There's the fucking fighter. And it gets in. And I can actually, sometimes I'll push his buttons without him realizing. I just like to go, poke the bear. And those are traits and personalities that I fucking really appreciate and love. And I'd never want him to change that. We were talking also about, I said to him one time, I go, look, dude, you are the kind of guy that gets, when you want something and something's not being done, you have a tendency to kind of go, you'll get over somebody and be like, why? He gets irritated. And when he gets irritated, all he's trying to do is he's trying to be argumentative and try to get his point across. The problem is when he's that big and you got closed up ears, even a little of that can get the average civilian to be like, what the fuck is going on? You're in my face. But, I love
Big Brown bringing the fear.
The big brown bear.
It's not
we
the
all
intention.
we all fucking love it though. At the same time, I don't want to live in a world without that. I love it, and I think like you said, I think the juice sometimes might be worth the squeeze in a lot of instances.
Well, certainly if you are driven, if you are a competitor at that level, You have it in your genes. You have it in your DNA. It's part of you.
Yes.
And I for sure you have to explore that and take that to the nth degree if that's what you're driven by. And everybody has to strive for that greatness if they want to have a healthy, happy life. Because if you have it and you don't address it, you feel like you're letting yourself down. You'll be depressed for sure.
I agree.
So I mean,
what are you being safe for? Like, what are you holding? What are you hiding your brain for?
I'm just saying, I'm not. I play football with my kids. Like I throw footballs with them. I go up, but I do not say, "Hey, I'm going to go and enroll you in football." Now, if they came to me and said, "Look, Dad, I want to be on the football team this year,"
you're not going to.
It would be like, talk to them about it, and I'm not gonna ever squash dreams. Never.
I love it.
Well, look at Holly Holm.
I'm not gonna encourage them. I also won't encourage. I encourage them to take jiu-jitsu and to take martial arts, but I will not encourage them to go and compete and fight professionally.
No, yeah.
But look at Holly Holm. Like, you could say Holly Holm's been fighting since she was 15. You could say, well, Holly might have some brain damage because she's been training so much. You know what? When you have someone like Holly Holm who shines that brightly, think about the example she set for all those women. You want to talk about feminist issues or pushing women's rights forward and shit like that, which I think is overblown.
Her.
Exactly.
Yeah, Ronda.
Listen, Ronda as well.
You
got to give Ronda
created this whole space.
You got to
there is no Holly.
You got to give Ronda her due as well. But there's damage incurred in that.
of course.
Guess what? To me, I think historically and everything else, it's fucking worth it.
One person making an impact on the world.
100%.
Right? If you can have an impact on popular culture, that's an amazing
Holly
thing.
Holm roots to fight.
Yeah, Holly is a monster.
Monster.
And again, we were talking about this earlier too. She's surrounded by such an incredible team of people, right? Jackson's
very
Wink,
grounded.
Brandon, Izzy, Greg, Wink. Those guys are all such great guys, great people. And so smart. They're a smart,
I agree, man.
Smart, gifted group of people.
Let's get to current events with Evan the Beard. Today's glorious current events is brought to you by Prosper.
Prosper.com. There's a lot about the internet I don't like, but there's a lot about the internet that is changing the way we do everything. Prosper is an excellent company. I have read a number of articles outside of what they have sent us, and they're changing in a lot of ways how people not only do their banking but also how they start businesses. So Prosper is a company that basically connects you to people that are willing to invest in you. When traditional methods like going to a bank and asking for a loan fail, and it happens a lot, as you know.
More times than not.
Yeah.
It's tough to get money these days.
There are people out there that are willing to gamble on you, just like with Uber, just like with Airbnb.
But when you say gamble, what do you mean, like $500?
You can borrow up to $35,000.
Oh, that's a lot of money.
Yeah, in as little as 5 days. And that's kind of what's so amazing about this company. They really can make a huge difference in your future. You're out there trying to raise money for like a company. You don't know how to do it. You can't everybody's failed you. And there's got to be somebody out there who can hear your business plan and invest. And that's exactly what Prosper does.
Yeah, Prosper.com is definitely a better way to turn and get cash, like Brian said, up to $35,000 to check your low rate instantly without affecting your dope-ass credit. Go to prosper.com/fighter for up to $35,000 in your account in as little as 5 days. Again, that's prosper.com/fighter.
Ooh, there it is.
What do you got, Ev? Current events.
Current events.
The first current event comes in from last night. Stedman Bailey, wide receiver for the St. Louis Rams, 25-year-old guy, got shot in the head twice. Survived. And drove himself to the hospital along with like 3 other people that were in the car.
Was he out at a club or something?
He was. His car was parked outside of someone's house in like a residential area, like 9 o'clock at night in Miami area, where he went to high school. So it's his hometown.
Dangerous area.
Yeah, dangerous area. Another car rolls up, basically Tupac's him.
Shot in the head twice and drove to the.
And that's talk about head injury. That's a badass. And how is he doing?
He's in critical but stable condition. Like he's probably. It looks like he's gonna make it. And he'll be fine. He's just got some surgery.
Yeah, definitely out for the rest of the season, to say the least.
2 bullets to the head will do that to you. But thank God he's okay. Thank God he's not dead. What a shitty, terrible tragedy.
Oh, it's just heartbreaking, man, to see stupid stuff like that.
Miami is a very rough
Was
place,
he Dade County or something?
especially if you're black.
Did they say?
No, they didn't say what county it was.
Dude, I spent a week in Miami-Dade County Jail, and it's almost all black. And it's when you're born poor and black in Florida, that is not that uncommon. Seeing a friend of yours get shot in the head or knowing somebody who got shot, unfortunately, is
well, for him
pretty
too,
common.
being a star in the NFL and then going back and then getting shot in the head twice.
Yeah, is it random or is he affiliated with something that
That's
was
the
like
thing,
I didn't get a
man.
chance to read any of the story,
No,
but man, it is
I don't
just,
know the details.
One
of
thing is
Yeah.
for sure, people get shot over crazy shit and always have in the hood.
A lot of it's jealousy. You know what I'm saying? A lot
Whatever
of
it
it's
is.
jealousy. If a guy's successful, who knows?
Guys
maybe
feel
maybe
like
there's
he
an
was slighted.
altercation
Yeah.
so
with a
hard
girl.
to get
something.
yourself out if you're involved in shit too, man. It's like you'd think if you're at that level, you've got money, you think it's like I gotta go, man. I'm
It's
going
true.
back. I'm
I
moving
agree.
someplace safe.
But when
and
you're
I am
from
not-
there,
yeah, it's
you know,
hard.
when you're from there and
Yeah.
it's the holidays, you
Yeah.
go back home, it's tough, man.
Yeah.
I get it. That's
Yeah.
tough.
That's where places like that's where bouncers get shot. Places like you can't come in, you don't have the right shirt, bang.
So we did a short doc with Snoop, and he talks about how when he was in prison, everybody wanted to hear him rap, and they were like, people were coming to him, and they actually they called it jump him out of his set. They actually were like, you're too good at this. You got to go out and live. And they weren't like, you hear about stories about people trying to keep people back, but they were like, his whole community was like,
They want him to
you're
shine.
too good. You go get away from us.
And
What are
this
you
is
doing
Long
with
Beach
us?
for
Yeah,
him?
this
Yeah.
is he basically was being told, you can still associate with us and you're still family, but go away.
Dude,
Go do
how
this.
about
You're too
here's
good.
a little current event for you guys. Remix. How about Snoop just released his own line of marijuana products called Leaves?
wow.
But they did this new branding. Have you seen it?
I saw a bit of it,
It's
yeah.
dope, man. The branding, it's
Literally.
like, it's very like classy. You know how like what Snoop's trying to do and whoever his team is, they're brilliant with this because what they're doing is releasing this kind of marijuana,
Like high class.
it's
sort of-
it's super like upscale,
Yeah.
like doesn't have like that
Makes sense.
raunchy like pothead vibe,
like
Yeah.
first class kind of behavior.
man,
I
it's
thought he
cool.
stopped smoking weed. Didn't he? Somebody said that.
I think
Yeah.
years
Who told
ago.
you that?
Well,
I don't
no,
know.
years ago he did like a little stint where I think he tried to stop smoking, or at least he tried to make it not part of his persona, and then he was just like, "Wow, that's not going to work."
No, that
Yeah,
guy.
he's
He's
chronic.
made a
marijuana.
Oh, man, I have a
he's
story, but-
continued to stay relevant and made a business out of essentially being a stoner / pimp /
Oh, he's super talented, man.
well, I know, but what is
He's
he?
a genius.
He's
He's
very
sure, but
full-on
his
genius,
marketing-
yeah.
I understand what
How
what
he's done
music
it, yeah,
has
what
he
you're
done?
saying is crazy.
What music has he done since? Like, when was the last time he actually made music that everybody was talking about? When?
He's been involved with stuff.
Yeah,
I
he's
mean,
a producer, stuff
and,
like
and
that.
also
Then he has his own
collaborative
show.
stuff. Yeah,
He
like
has his own
he's
show
just
now.
been with if you go back even just a couple years ago with Pharrell, and I mean I think the whole change up of his style to Snoop Lion,
Yeah.
that didn't work.
No, it's
and
a terrible
he's like
idea.
every 2 years he kind of
Yeah.
reinvents himself. But before that, drop it like it's hot and all that stuff.
Yeah.
He was one of the first people to actually be a real collaborator where everybody was always not wanting any of their shine to be on anybody
Yeah.
else. He collaborated with all these up and comers. He collaborated with like Timberlake and all these people where he was happy to just be part of it and
Right.
I think
to
his
develop the
business
art.
brain is what
Yeah.
keeps him
He's a
relevant.
smart
Super
dude,
yeah.
genius.
I'm sure
Yeah.
he's a smart
I've
guy.
got a great
That's
story
what I'm
for you
saying.
guys,
He's been
but-
able to stay relevant.
Yeah.
Anybody who's been able to stay relevant for that long
Oh,
has
I
got
know.
something going on.
Has
Like
something.
we're
Super
talking about
talented.
Snoop Dogg right
Yeah.
now. You know what I mean? It's been how many years? 20?
You're saying since his
20
own album?
Yeah, 20. Well, I'm
Probably
saying.
a while.
I'm
Well,
saying
his first
when
album,
he-
Doggy Style, changed the game because
Right.
he was using his voice as a as an instrument. He had that honey voice that came in. He was changing. He was like bridging, Motown and soul.
And then what was
with
the thing he
hip-hop.
did with Dre, which was Californication or whatever it was?
No,
or,
shit, I know this. I just
Are you
saw
thinking of the
Drake.
song
2 nights
California
ago.
Love?
gin and juice and all
that's
that.
it.
That was
No,
anyway.
yeah.
But listen to me. But the bottom line is some people are just able to just stay relevant.
Stay in the limelight.
And it's
What?
I don't know how to do
insane.
it. Yeah.
What else you got, Ev?
All right, Brian, this one's going to drive you insane. The University of Ottawa in Canada is putting an end to their free campus yoga classes after a student complained that yoga was offensive to cultures who have experienced oppression due to Western supremacy.
Okay, so I'm glad you're bringing this up. Joe Rogan did an amazing podcast with Christine Summers. Christine Summers is a professor of philosophy, and she is essentially taking on this politically correct lunacy that's going on our campuses. Ottawa and the academics that run these institutions, Amherst, Yale, Ottawa, they're all a bunch of spineless babies who are giving in to the neurotic, lunatic fringe element that is being bolstered by a few fanatical, imbalanced, nasty, pseudo scholars, because they're not scholars. People like, I think it was Mary Wass out of University of Arizona who said that 1 in 4 women have been raped. She's a liar, and that's a lie. And that statistic was gathered in the following way. Mary Wass said essentially she counted any woman who had regret for having sex after the fact, like we all do. And she counted those women.
Get 'em, Kellen.
Now, since then, I think she's retracted or issued certain, caveats. But if we don't stand up to this lunacy, and there are a bunch of people who are just talking about how, my sensibilities are being trampled on. Let's stand up for the oppressed. And we are losing reason and insight and fair play. And actually the most important thing, which is balanced, spirited debate. These people are silencing reason. And for that university to not have free yoga classes because some neurotic is what that person is, some neurotic who invented
Tourette's?
some idea that teaching or doing yoga is actually oppressive to that culture. Without looking at that culture, without looking at how old yoga is, without even knowing what yoga means. And this is the kind of thing that gets me so hot and bothered. And it's up to the reasonable majority that has been way too silent in this to stand up to make fun of these people. If you make a joke as a professor, you will get censored and you have a mob of people asking for your job.
Well, did you see that teacher is teaching, I think, ethnic studies, where she's teaching, she used the N-word in a reference, and now she's suspended?
What a surprise.
Wow.
She can't say the N-word because she's referencing it. And if you read, how about Mark Twain, who was not a racist? How about Tom Sawyer and Huckleberry Finn?
There's a bunch of N-words in there.
Of course there are. But he wasn't a racist. It was part of the times.
The stuff with Ottawa. We're a Canadian company. I live in Canada, Vancouver, British Columbia.
Yeah. I
I was so embarrassed by reading that yesterday because that woman that was teaching that class, I believe she was doing it free of charge for people with disabilities, and it was canceled because of misappropriation of Indian culture.
Yeah.
And so they're
Misappropriation.
depriving
as if
all
there's
of
something
these
called
people.
Indian culture. Sorry to interrupt. As if Indian culture. You know how big that India has so many different religions, from Christianity to Islam to Hinduism to Jainism, all different kinds. It has so many different kinds of people who speak different languages. What the fuck are you talking about? And by the way, I'm sorry to keep going. Yes, the British colonized India. Yeah. Do you know the kind of civil war that went on, the partition of India between Muslims and Hindus? Were they oppressing each other as well? Human beings have always killed each other in the name of religion, in the name of property, in the name of just plain old belief systems. And so this idea that we have always oppressed each other. Stop saying it was just whites, it was just Asians. It just stifles the whole debate. I'm sorry.
I'll tell you this right now, I'm balls deep in yoga, though.
I'm all for sensitivity and thoughtfulness and being considerate of people, and nothing to do with wanting hatred or oppressing anybody. But I mean, this woman was doing something positive, and she said, "Look, I don't care what you call it. I'll call it fucking mindful stretching. Don't deprive these people of being able to get this just because of some agenda you have for your own, pushing something forward. It's just so ridiculous."
But Jesse, it also goes back to this. It's exactly my problem with when I talk about the Syrian refugees. You cannot allow a few assholes, a few extremists, a few fanatics, a few neurotics to then ruin it for the rest of us. My problem with stopping all those refugees, my problem with stopping essentially a free yoga class in the name of somebody, you're trampling on somebody's sensibilities, is that you're allowing a few assholes, and that's what they are, to change the way we live our lives and to compromise our principles. And it's gutless. It is gutless for those academics. You've got these gender studies. You've got these male and female lunatic feminists. You know what I am? I'm a humanist. Yeah. I'm going to quote Rogan on this too. I believe everybody should be judged on their merits. Yeah. I'm cheering for Holly Holm or Ronda Rousey when I watch that. I'm as excited about that fight between two women as I am about two men a lot of times. It doesn't make me a feminist. I just love seeing human beings at their best and using all their talents along the lines of excellence.
It's also ridiculous. You try and stop, 25,000 refugees that need help to weed out 5 people or something.
It's un-American.
Yeah,
it's un-American.
And then what you're actually going to do is you're going to create 2,500 more people that hate.
I agree. And
that go into poverty.
And I hate to tell everybody this. We need the Muslim world. We need the reasonable Muslim world to fight this extremism. We need that. We're not going in there alone. You're going into these countries.
Turn them away.
Of course not.
Yeah. What else you got, Ev? We could be on this all day.
Thank you, Evan, for getting me going. Well, listen to Christine Summers' podcast with Joe Rogan. It's very important.
I started it. I'm looking forward to watching it.
It's great.
All right, last one is we've talked about the game's Instagram dick pics before on this show. Got a little excited about it. Now he's calling out Instagram because they are planning on pulling down his pictures. But meanwhile, his whole issue is that they'll allow Kim Kardashian's bare ass and pregnant tits to be all over Instagram.
Legit point.
They have a problem with it.
It's a legit point because
sure
he just has, you saw the picture, and it's kind of a tool because he posts them every Wednesday and Friday now. But it's him in his underwear, and he sees big piece in the undies.
Who's this?
The game. The rapper.
It.
Yeah.
Okay.
So it's whatever. We made fun of him on here for it. It was ridiculous.
Yeah.
Hashtag.
He's preening like a hot chick.
But all right, you want to do that? Do that. But you can't take down the game in his underwear if you're gonna let every single Instagram model post ass pics, twerking pics, titty pics.
Yeah.
And then one guy, listen, I don't like as much as the next guy. It's ridiculous what the game's doing. You can't take it down.
Well, it's a little bit like when some women are not allowed to take their shirt off in public, but men are. I get it. I mean, the breast is sexualized, right? But the breast is sexualized because we've said it's sexualized, right? It turns me on. So I see a girl with really nice tits, I'm going to be like, holy shit, that's a great body, and it gets me aroused sexually. When a man takes off his shirt, that may not be the case, but it might be as well. But we do have a double standard in certain districts and certain cities and certain towns where so I get it. I mean, I think the game has a point.
He has a point.
I think he's
now,
a dork.
If his pants were down and dick is out, well then you can't post on Instagram. But for him to be in this boxer, you can't yank that.
Yeah, but let me ask you a question. So now we get into these semantics, which is an interesting debate, because if the game had a pair of white underpants and he had them wet, and you could see a lot. You could see the pubic hair. You could see the outline of his balls. You could see, and by the way, it was even harder. So now what are we talking about? Now we have to say you can't wet your pants down. There is a standard, right?
But then now you're going rated X, right? Before he's PG-13. You just see a big outline.
All I'm saying is so then it's the question of how much of an outline, right? So now we get into these weird.
I think when you get into that's basically nudity because what girls do on Instagram is they'll have their breast out but they're covering their nipples.
Right.
They allow that. Or a girl can be in basically a string bikini, thong, twerking. They can have that.
It's weird.
Now, if they take their hands off and show full breast
or
full butt, you can't do that.
Isn't that strange?
It's weird.
As long as you have a tiny bit of cloth.
The game's point is Kim Kardashian takes that picture. Kim breaks the internet, whatever his Vanity Fair, where the fuck it was, where her ass is hanging out.
Yeah.
Full butt.
Yeah.
But then they're good with that because it's one of the biggest posts of all time.
Side butt, though.
Still ass, though. Still bare ass. You know what I'm saying?
Listen, man.
It's weird, right?
It is, and the game has a point.
For sure, stop taking selfies.
But again, it's like
stop that.
It's like what we were talking about.
I'm with you on this case.
Yeah. Men have this weird thing about, and I get it. Like when I see the game doing that, I don't know what it is about it, but I go, what a dick. And it's like when you and I were in that gym and that guy had a great body and he took his shirt off and he was working out. What happens with guys when they see that is guys go, that guy's not in my fucking group. That guy's not a team
you're not
player.
one of us.
Nah,
Yeah,
you're preening like a peacock, bro. Yeah. And you know what? You might get punched in the face by some guys. Like, guys get weird about that stuff.
Guys know that if guys who do that have other insecurities, there's a reason they're doing that.
Yeah.
Like, my friends don't do that.
Yeah.
What are you doing?
But also it's also like you're also trying to really separate yourself. Like you're trying to. It's in a way it's like you're trying to get all the girls, right?
How about the fucking guy, Chris D'Elia, I think posted it, but sent it to Brian and I.
The funniest.
The dude's shredded, right? And remember when all the Paris stuff happened? People had the Paris like peace sign, but with the Eiffel Tower. This dude in the mirror, jacked, drew the Paris thing on his abs. It was just like hashtag shredded, hashtag pray for Paris.
Beast
oh
mode.
my God, bro.
That guy should
I was like, whoa! I'm about to freak out.
I wouldn't want to beat him up, but I do want to take a car antenna to his legs and we just start beating him with a car antenna, just so he feels it.
Bag of oranges,
I just want to
no
brand
bruises.
him, just like, what are you doing?
Idiot. Yeah, just what are you doing?
Just
what are you
dumbass.
doing?
Just
The scarlet
no.
letter.
Yeah,
we
man.
need to all know who you are.
Brandon
the
would
public
like,
needs to know to
so whenever he
stay
takes
clear
a
of
selfie,
this
he's
jackass.
just fucked. It's just
Brandon would
asshole.
absolutely not.
Yeah. No. Hashtag no.
Fucking dummy.
Is that it, Ev?
That's it.
Good Lord. You got a dropping knowledge for us?
Yeah,
Brian
I do.
Cowan?
There's a really, we've had a lot of people who write in about cancer and stuff and everything, and there's a guy named Dom D'Agostino, and he's got he did a Tim Ferriss podcast called Fasting, Ketosis, and the End of Cancer, and he also has a TEDx talk, and I'll make it brief, but he's an assistant professor in the Department of Molecular Pharmacology and Physiology at the South Florida School of Medicine, and also he is a senior research scientist at the Institute of Human and Machine Cognition, and one of the things that scientists, and Jessie, you can probably weigh in on this because you've read about this. One of the things that scientists have found is that when children suffer from really bad seizures, a lot of times they're resistant to any kind of medication and they have really bad seizures. They can have 5, 6, 10 a day, and it's really, really life-threatening. And what they found a while back was if they put those kids into ketosis, their seizures a lot of times go away either completely or they have very few seizures. And that is what ketosis is essentially your body is no longer running off of glucose. Your body is running off of fat. So your brain has two ways that it can function. It needs fat, it needs water-soluble fat molecules, or it needs glucose. And all foods break down into glucose unless your diet is primarily fat and some protein. So what they've also found is that this guy, Dom D'Agostino, worked with a guy named Tom Siegfried who wrote a book called Cancer is a Molecular Disease, Metabolic Disease. Cancer is a Metabolic Disease. And it's a groundbreaking book, which essentially argues that tumors live off of sugar. Tumors need sugar to glucose to grow and to thrive. Cancer cells have a weird deformity in their mitochondria, which doesn't allow them to work off of fat. So the idea is when you basically go into ketosis where your body is running just on fat, there's a lot of evidence that in fact you can starve a tumor. And they have had really promising results with metastatic cancer cells in rats and other animals that prove this, including really difficult cancers like gliomas, which are brain tumor cancers. So more and more, that seems to be, there are a lot of different forefronts on the cancer battle, but that is, putting yourself in ketosis sometimes can be one of the best things you can do, apparently, and according to Dom D'Agostino and a lot of these, and Tom Siegfried and a lot of these scientists, to at least slow down or even stop the growth of your cancer.
Hopefully I don't have a tumor, man. I get the worst sweet tooth.
Yeah, I haven't heard anything about curing cancer or anything, but I know my mother-in-law has breast cancer, and they put her on a ketogenic diet, and she lost a lot of weight. It increases your energy, and it eradicates inflammation in your body that is caused by glucose. And so I believe what it does is it gives your body a much better chance to fight, but she also had to go through chemo and radiation and everything else. It still battles through everything else that's going on. I've had a few friends actually go through this, and a good buddy of mine is an oncologist in Vancouver and one of the best. and they often will try and get patients to be on a ketogenic diet.
That's really cool.
With
Yeah, it is.
but I've never heard anything about it curing cancer
Right.
or stopping
Even if it helps
cancer.
a
It's
little.
just
Even if it
it's
helps,
just,
yeah.
I mean, first of
Eat
all,
that fat.
Well, by the way,
that inflammation is a huge thing.
Yeah,
sure.
and one of the things that I actually, to tie it into On It, which I thought was really cool, is that Dom D'Agostino is a huge MCT oil guy. He does takes a lot of MCT oil. He does put butter in his coffee.
It's all the fats they have.
And he was talking about nootropics, and he likes taking nootropics like Alpha Brain. He didn't mention Alpha Brain, but the nootropics he was mentioning were the stuff that were in Alpha Brain.
Yep.
And I thought that was pretty wild when you have a senior research scientist who's talking about the stuff that On It provides. I was like, I got to talk about this since On It's our sponsor.
Yeah.
It's kind of cool.
And
MCT
Alpha Brain's
oil.
the best.
Yeah.
It
What's
is
that?
the best.
It
Yeah.
is.
Alpha Brain is
Do
the
you
best.
do you take Alpha
Yeah,
Brain?
of course.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's pretty cool, man. So that's my dropping knowledge. So anybody who has cancer, please take a look at that. Take a look at
all illnesses,
cancers and metabolic
any
disease and
inflammation,
Dom D'Agostino.
Any inflammation diseases like rheumatoid arthritis and
Yeah,
autoimmune
man.
stuff.
Diet's
Ketogenic
huge with
diet's
all
supposed to
that.
be big.
Yeah, there's a bunch of different
Yeah.
diets.
Don't go crazy either. Don't go on a
Don't go
ketogenic
crazy.
diet.
But let's say I do go crazy and I get tired and need good sleep.
Well,
And I need good sleep.
Okay, let me
but-
ask you a
But
question.
my sheets are super crunchy.
okay, so that, and by the way, crunchy sheets are a huge phenomenon. You hear a lot about this. Like a lot of times when you sleep in sheets, you're like, first of all, why are there razor blades in my back and my tummy?
Are my sheets made out of bamboo?
Yeah.
This is what I think when I lay down in bed at night. A, are my sheets made out of pure glass? Or B, what's the President of the United States sleeping on? That's the two questions every night when I go to bed. I'm like, all right, if I'm a president, what kind of sheets am I using?
Okay, well, so I'm glad you said that because for me, I don't say that. For me,
Oh,
I go,
okay.
I go
I'm the minority.
when I travel a lot. I fly a lot, and I
Yeah.
fly above the clouds.
You do.
And a lot of times I go, I wonder what it would be like to sleep on clouds.
I get that.
And not only on clouds, what would it be like to sleep in clouds? And do you know something? And I know what it's like. Jessie, you don't. I know what it's like to sleep in clouds because you know why? You know what's on my? I share the same sheets that the three presidents share. And
What?
Yeah.
There's bed sheets like this?
Yeah. It's called Boll and Branch.
What?
Yeah. It's not Ball and Branch. It's BOLL and Branch. Let me just go through it. A couple things you need to know to get a good night's sleep in clouds. Okay.
important.
Yeah. See, the thing is, they've reinvented sheets and bedding with the sole purpose of making your night the most comfortable ever. And here's why. This is a company essentially that when you talk about thread count, it's all
for the
a joke.
birds.
Yeah.
It's a marketing ploy.
Yeah, exactly. At the end of the day, here's how it goes.
You had me at presidents use these sheets, man.
Well, you
presidential.
don't want to be spending department store overhead on your sheets.
See a middleman. They
See
cut
ya.
out the middleman.
Yeah, exactly. And by the way, you can try these Boll and Branch sheets risk-free for 30 nights.
That's how good they
Yeah.
are.
Hey, sleep in them for a month. I dare you to send them back, okay? Gets even better, okay? You go to bollandbranch.com today for 20% off your entire order. Sheets, towels, blankets, duvet covers, everything. Just so you guys know, they have so much confidence in their product, they send them to us. And they go, hey, guys, sleep in these before you talk about them. And I was like, what? Here I am.
President not included.
Here I am in the clouds. Free shipping as well. Okay, so go to bollandbranch.com today for 20% off your entire order and use promo code FIGHTER. All right, and I'll tell you something else. All right, at the end of the day, it's a transparent betting company, a startup founded in 2014. Okay,
Quit saying okay. Quit saying I'll tell you another thing, okay?
Yeah, and
Okay.
there's no child labor. I mean, look, when you look at the little details, the little
I don't know,
stitching-
man. Bullet
Listen,
Branch.
but the little stitching, a lot of
promo
times you're like,
code fighter.
They had to hire little
We
kids with
got
tiny
it.
fingers. No, they didn't. It's just real.
Let's
real
go to some
people.
fan questions. Bull and Branch, good enough for presidents, good enough for firing the kid.
Sleep in clouds.
Boom.
All right. First fan question. What do you consider the most important day or moment of your lives? And are there any moments that really altered or changed you instantly?
Who wants to take this first? Jesse? Any moments that changed your life?
Not off the top of my head.
B?
Please, man.
I'm not a sentimental
when I
guy.
decided
There's too
when I
many.
decided to join the wrestling team at 14 years old at Northfield Mount Hermon, changed my life. When I decided to go get my black belt in Taekwondo, my Taekwondo teacher changed my life. When my daughter and son were born, changed my life. When I met Big Brown, decided to do a podcast, changed my life. These are seminal moments,
Yep.
ladies and gentlemen.
Yeah,
You
there's,
know,
there's
when I
too many
decided
for
to
me
do
list.
stand-up and I was so terrified and I got
Yeah.
up on stage and I thought I was going to die and I couldn't move my face. I have that video somewhere. Changed my life. Anytime I decided to do something I was afraid of and I did it anyway, that's when your life changes. When you are afraid of something and you go, this is nuts, and you do it anyway, as long as it's like something productive and it's part of a dream, then and you take an action in the right direction, it changes your life.
Yeah, there's been certain moments in my career, whether it's entertainment, fighting, football, college football, high school football, lacrosse, times I was injured, certain people I've met that changed my life. Obviously, Brian, I don't have to fight anymore after meeting Brian and starting this business that we have. There's too many to list. I remember there's a time I did a spot where I did, it was kind of like it was an MMA show. It was a 10:30 at night show in LA when I first moved to LA. John, his name's J. Coe. He had an MMA show on like a nightly shitty news. It's called like something like Inside the Cage, and he asked me to be his co-host. It was the first time I've ever been on TV, and I remember being in a suit, breaking it down, and was just going. I remember when I got off, I got in my car. I was like, "Oh shit, I can do this!"
Wow.
I remember thinking, "Uh-oh, I can do
That's
this."
pretty cool.
And that was my first start as far as like breaking down MMA, analyzing tape, and then be able to get on camera live because it was all live, and not messing up and just rapping back and forth. I remember getting in my car, being like, "Oh shit, I can do this."
When did you? I've always been curious, and we've talked a little bit about it, but like the decision to say, "I want to fight, I want to go and fight." And to go into and to see Shane Carwin and to go, I'm going to spar with this guy or I'm going to train with this guy. I mean, yeah.
Well, meeting Shane Carwin changed my life is a defining moment because I was in Utah and football's, it was the end of the road, man, and I didn't know what to do really, so I started training. I wanted to fight, but I didn't know how. Then I met Shane. And Shane was like, "Hey, man, let's do this journey together." Like from day one, he's like, "I need you."
Wow.
And I was like, "Really?" He's like,
wow.
"Yeah, man." He only had one fight at the time. He's like, "I need you." And he's like, "Well, let's figure this out." So to have Shane, like,
do you talk to Shane much?
I probably talked to Shane 4 months ago.
Oh, okay.
3 months ago. Yeah. But there's certain people you meet in your life that will forever change the way you view things, the way you look at things.
Yeah.
I've never read so much after meeting you. Like now, I always want to read now.
Yeah.
Morning, read. Night, reading.
It's awesome.
Constantly reading now.
It's awesome. It's made a huge difference.
This is the seminal moment for me.
That works, man. We'll take that.
Jesse, that's the kind of
his own
attitude.
podcast, Roots of Fight with Jesse.
That's
it
the
just
attitude.
blows our numbers away.
That's the attitude I'm looking
4
for.
million downloads first month. Yeah, you just have all these superstars on nonstop.
Exactly.
Brilliant idea.
The moment Roots of
What
Fight
else you
took
got?
off.
All right, next one. Did you see the John Jones interview with Helwani, and what were your thoughts on it?
I did. We should talk about this tonight too. I think it's the first time, and I actually got into it with a UFC employee over this. I think it's the first time John was John. I think John was, for the very first time, we see John Jones for who he is, and we like this guy better. There's no bullshit. He's saying how he feels, what went down, and he's like, "Hey, man, before I was kind of putting on this persona of what people thought they wanted. I was dressing a certain way. I was acting a certain way." He's like, "I don't like that shit, man. I cuss. I do this, I do that. I'm the best in the world. I'm not the same champion. Maybe this guy is a great role model. That's not me. That's not who I am." And I think his comments about Dana and Lorenzo, how he says, Dana's a businessman. Like Lorenzo, when I do business, I want to deal with Lorenzo because Lorenzo views me as a person and he's easier for me to deal with. So I think people are seeing this where, yeah, man, people have issues with Dana. It's just the way it goes. So I think from John saying, "Listen, man, when UFC 53 in Canada, when that card fell out and they offered me Chael Sonnen on 8-day notice," John goes, "Dude, I see people in this fight game. UFC doesn't take care of them. So for me to risk my brand to fight Chael Sonnen on 8-day notice," he goes, "I've worked too hard to become a champion to fight some guy I'm not ready for, not prepared for them to
so
save
legit.
their card."
It's such a
and he
legit
goes,
thing
and then
to
they
say.
want to make it look like I'm some punk, like I ruined the card and take all this blame. He goes, "That's not fair."
But
he goes, "Because guess what?" He goes, "I lose that fight, I lose the next, and they don't take it." He goes, "When you're done, UFC does nothing for you. That's the game we signed up for.
I have been with top level fighters. I mean, top of the food chain fighters who have given everything and gotten a call from the UFC and told to take a fight, and they're like, I'm not even ready. I can't stuck weight yet or anything, and they were threatened with being cut.
What did I tell you when I retired? What did I tell you was going to happen? I got an Instagram post. This was my retirement settlement from the UFC. I got an Instagram post, repost. And I got a letter from Dana White that he didn't even type that goes, thank you for all the years and your efforts. Good luck with everything. Signed, Dana White. I showed you that note. Yeah. I said, oh, here, this was the retirement plan from the UFC. Here you go.
Yeah.
One thing I did like about that interview to hear John say was that, not only that fight alone, but how much it means to his team. And that if he took that fight, it has implications for people more than him. And that's the first time I think hearing him actually think about others around him who've invested so much time and energy and effort into him and believed in him and helped him. And so I hope this is the start of something new, whether he, completely cleans up his act or not. He's human. He's young. He's rich. He's good looking. He's the best fighter of all time right now. And I just hope that he starts considering these other people that are putting so much energy.
I like what he said, where they go, did you feel like did you want to come back? Like when you watch DC and Johnson fight, and he's like, no, I don't have to do shit. He's like, I'm good, man. I'm good. My legacy is set. I'm doing it for me. I don't have to do anything.
Yeah, right? I wasn't sure he was going to say, yeah, I'm anxious to get back. At that point, I was like, he sounds like he's like.
It was, yeah. He was,
but he's like, no, my time off, I was okay. Now I want to come back.
I'm good. Man.
Yeah. He's got a lot of fight left in him.
Oh my goodness.
He said he announced he's going to fight at heavyweight. He goes, I have work to do at light heavyweight. He goes, but it's just a matter of time before I go to heavyweight. He goes, I'm every bit as strong as any heavyweight.
Damn.
And you've been watching him lift. He looks like a beast right now.
Well, they asked him. He goes, this is the first time. He goes, I owe it to myself. He goes, I've never trained outside of camp on mixed martial arts. I've never decided to eat right or work out. Ariel goes, so you tell me there's a better version of John Jones? He goes, I don't know. Maybe I'm doing the right things now.
That's crazy.
Good luck, everybody.
You told me. You said,
good luck.
You said. I go. He's lifting a lot. Is that good? He goes. No. He's training like a professional athlete.
That's exactly what he's doing. He's doing strength and conditioning.
Yeah. Brian asked me. He goes, man, now he's getting bigger and stuff like that. Is it going to be an issue?
No.
Oh no.
It's going to be an issue for everybody else.
Now he's training like an actual pro.
Yeah.
Oh fuck. Good luck, everybody. Yeah. Like to me, it's not even comparable. He's the best fighter to ever grace the octagon. Everyone's like, oh, Shab's a John Jones nut hugger. No, I'm not. Look at his credentials.
No.
Hey, you and I have talked about this like going back to 2 years ago. It's like if this guy ever cleans up his act and starts training full on, like if he trains as hard as Gustafsson trains or as hard as DC or any of these guys train or as hard as you train, if he starts putting that in, he's got the team behind him. He's got unbelievable. I mean, look at his family. They're all fucking amazing world-class athletes. He is going to be, if he really dedicates himself, I mean, he was already heads and shoulders above everybody else doing 6-week camps.
Dude,
and
he
then going
talked
out
about
and
beating Gustafsson, just partying nonstop. And they're like, yeah, but they said, Gustafsson's the next John Jones. He's like, yeah, he's not, though. He's the same size. And they go, weren't you worried about your cardio or anything like that? And he goes, not really. I mean, I was exhausted in the second round, and I just dug in deep and was like, hey, man, think how much you sacrificed to get here. Let's beat this guy. And he goes, and that's the hardest he's ever trained. I barely trained.
Yeah. Damn. Oh, my God. He was like, I think in Russia doing all but
Wiling
no
out.
Disrespect to Gustafsson, who's an animal and showing great stuff. But, John is just a whole different level of
He's
nastiness.
Another animal. It's that weird X factor where you just go, I don't know.
And he's a savant. He's able to do. He's able to see it and then do it right then. Like you were talking about Renzo teaching you leg locks and stuff. That you're like, well, that's not going to be for 2 weeks from now.
Well,
give me a few months.
You can show John it's in his arsenal.
Is that
John
right?
can download black belt jiu-jitsu. Okay, yes.
You know who else can do this?
So he's just got a really
Boss
steep
could do that.
Yes.
BJ Penn could do that. Like the guys that we've interviewed.
Who else? Boss
Rutan. Yep. So Boss
Rutan
was submitting people from stuff that he would like see on a big screen passing. Like, oh, what is that? Oh, it's like a figure.
Boss was self-taught.
Jiu-jitsu.
And then went into the ring
and broke people's limbs.
Yes.
Good God.
Yeah, like the highest level.
I remember when Marco Rua this was in 1997, 98. And Marco Rua, king of the streets. He's such an awesome looking dude. He'd show up in a Speedo, just 235 with that great curly hair. And I remember saying Marco Rua, and a guy who trained with those guys goes, yeah, but Bas Rutten, I just watched Bas Rutten tap him all day long. And I go, no way. He goes, yeah, he did. I go, who's Bas Rutten? He goes, he's a Dutch kickboxer.
Yeah.
You'll be hearing about him.
But Boss was like the first freak athlete. What else you got, Ev?
Yeah, he's an athlete.
What movie always makes you tear up even though you've seen it a bunch of times?
Rocky, Raging Bull.
Rocky?
Rocky, Raging Bull, and Year of the Dragon.
Rocky?
And Officer and a Gentleman.
Which part of Rocky? The Adrian part?
Stay down, Rock. Stay down. And he gets back up.
That makes you cry.
Greatest movie of all time. Rocky, greatest movie of all time.
Wow.
Yeah.
That makes you obsessed with fighting, maybe.
It just means I'm.
As a
It
fighter,
just means
it's
I'm
one of the
40
worst?
It's because I'm
Because
48.
the boxing's so bad?
I know.
It's one of the worst?
I'm 48. I watched it before I knew anything about fighting. I was a kid.
I did too.
Yeah. It is the worst. Though. The boxing is
terrible.
terrible.
Invincible with Mark Wahlberg, probably for me.
Since I've had kids, man, I am such a softie. I tear up pretty easily. I gotta say, just this last couple of weeks with the news, man, I found myself just like watching the news, just starting to tear up. Oh my!
I get
God.
frustrated with the news. I
Yeah.
get mad when I watch the
Yeah.
news. Can't get enough of it. Ev, we know you got to get going. Jessie, what's going on, man? You guys got a sale coming up,
We
right?
got a massive. We don't do sales a lot because most of our stuff is limited
You don't
edition.
need to do
and so we
sales.
don't usually need to do them, but we have a massive Black Friday and Cyber Monday sale coming up. It's going to run right through from Thursday till Tuesday, I think at noon, and it's the biggest one we've ever done. It's basically just to say thank you to
And it's
everybody who supported us.
rootsoffight.com.
Rootsoffight.com, and you can follow us on Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, all at Roots of Fight, and then on YouTube and Vimeo we have our short documentary series free. Every from 60 seconds to 7-minute pieces.
Nice,
on
man.
The history of fight.
Nice.
Thanks for coming in, brother. We've wanted to
Jesse.
do this for a while. You're the
Yeah.
best.
Thanks, buddy.
B, where can
Great
they
to be
find you,
here.
man?
Guys,
You're at,
Salt Lake
Utah.
City at Wise Guys, the Friday, Saturday after Thanksgiving. So that's what, the 28th, 29th.
There you go.
Come
Go see him
me. I
at
can't
Wise
wait.
Guys in Salt
gonna be
Lake
good.
City. Brian the Kid Count, one of the funniest in the business. The West Coast tour, Seattle, Portland. We're calling you guys out. These are big venues. They're selling great. Keep it up. Seattle, Portland, San Diego, and Las Vegas. We's a coming. TFATK.com.
We's a coming.
West Coast tour. Coming at you live. This is the Fire the Kid. We're out.